So Magic Maze has been quite the staple of regular game nights, game days and meetups, certainly on our game meetup. But now there is Magic Maze Tower. Now we're gonna review what's the difference, how does it feel. And hi everyone, it's Stella.
And Tarrant here from Meeple University.
If you enjoyed this video later, please hit the like and subscribe. And now let's talk about what are the main differences.
And so these are very different releases. They are ultimately quite different in style. So Magic Maze was a time-driven, no communication puzzle. Less so a puzzle, more kind of a real-time game.
Yes.
And it had sort of like the escape the temple, that sort of time pressure thing. And you were going out, you had a relatively simple objective to meet, which was to get all of the coloured meeples cooperatively to their matching coloured armories and then get them to their exits.
Yeah.
And you would be doing this with no communication, and each player is limited to doing certain actions.
So certain directions. Yeah.
So I may have the tiles, I can only move pieces up, north or east, and someone may only be able to move them south or along escalators regardless of their directions. And so collectively you can see where all the pieces need to go because it's relatively straightforward, but there's time pressure and you need to be focusing on all four meeples to work out when is your time to move a piece in the direction that you're allowed to.
I'm timing your review as well, we can see that.
Yes.
Once it's finished, you have to finish Magic Maze.
Yeah. And then there are a couple of the timing things to think of. At some point you need to get a pawn onto a timer flip.
Now we're dead.
Onto one of the timer flip spaces so you can keep the game going.
Yeah.
So it was relatively straightforward and it was all about people thinking quickly.
Yes.
Magic Maze Tower is set in the same universe, and in each of the scenarios it has the same objective. You need to get all the pieces to their armories and then to the exits. But it's no longer a time pressure game, and it's no longer an obvious, simple solution. It is a puzzle. It's a genuine
Basically puzzle.
It's a genuine puzzle that has a solution. So it's much more like, I remember back in the day, the game stores, before modern hobby games had such a huge shelf, the thing I used to enjoy going to game stores to look at was like puzzles like Rush Hour, things like that, where you're putting tiles to create a pattern or trying to move pieces. Rush Hour is probably the best example, actually. A game where you move the cars up and down and left and right and try to maneuver them out of the grid.
I mean, I haven't played Rush Hour, but I certainly think of video games like Froggy or Crossy Roads, where this is almost like making the board games feel like video games in a way, because lots of video games has got more time pressure.
Yep, Chips Challenge is one that I had played on the old Windows 95. So it has very much that kind of feel to it. And there's a huge stack.
Oh, yeah.
Huge stack of puzzles here. A series of single-side puzzles. So this is a self-contained puzzle here. But then on the opposite sides, there are some epic puzzles where you combine 4 of these together or 8 of these together into a big grid. And some of the spaces allow you to rotate the cards as part of the solution or even slide puzzle them together.
Yes. I love that so the game has got tutorial mode, so there's a few to start with. You have different characters that can do different things, like, I don't know, the dwarf can go under the little hole or something like that, and somebody can throw someone else and things like that.
The barbarian can throw, the elf can jump over somebody, so they all have these little individual powers that help you maneuver.
Yes, so the tutorial will go through what each one can do, starting with like a really simple ones while playing the game, and after a few then you get into the game. Now the good thing is that I love that they have QR code on, you can see that on the bottom of this as well. There's a QR code right here. Obviously a big spoiler, you don't want to see it, you don't want to scan it to see the video solution. So it'll take you to the publisher's website, which you sit down and it will give you like warning before you play the video, like this is how you solve this puzzle. So it's a different feeling definitely than Magic Maze, where you can, I mean, it's basically, as Tarrant said, it's a puzzle rather than a time play cooperative.
Yes, and there is no hourglass in this game.
No.
You're expected to treat it as an untimed puzzle.
That's basically the big difference. Like there's no hourglass time pressure. So how do they make it work? I think that works. I mean, it definitely works as a solo puzzle as well. You can just sit down and trying to work out how you do it. It has that vibe of, because of the no time pressure, like Kingdom Legacy, the game that you like. I've seen Tarrant like sitting there and while waiting for me, like putting makeup or whatnot, and trying to like work out, okay, how do I do this? And then I saw also Tarrant jump to the last level and then couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, and that's where what is interesting about this release. So it's Magic Maze Universe, similar objective, and they have incorporated, I guess, the option. It's very flexible in the rules, but it's got the option to play it in the old Magic Maze style, where you sit around the table, you have your tiles, where I can only move north and east, you can only move south and west, for example, and you can play it as a no communication or limited communication challenge, where you're trying to solve it together but not together, if that makes sense. Together because you're both doing it, but not together because you can't talk and work out what the strategies are.
Yes.
Or you can sit there and try to solve it fully cooperatively, in which case, once you get to that point, I feel like the tiles are extraneous. The tiles are a little bit extraneous, to be honest, in this game. You do treat it as just solving the puzzle. And the early puzzles and tutorials, they're pretty simple. It doesn't take much thought, and you can solve it in that cooperative way where no one is communicating and you're just trying to get the swing of it yourselves. But I tried the last single page level, and there were many.
It's horribly hard.
It took me a long time. There are many ways that you can
Solve it.
There's only one way to solve it, and there's many ways that you can get yourself into a position that is not recoverable and you have to restart.
Yeah.
I can't possibly imagine having more than one player sit down and try to solve that without talking with each other.
Yeah.
So, to be honest, I feel like the fact they've added that is just to meet the Magic Maze name. It's not really necessary to having the enjoyment of the game.
Now, I just remember also an old video game that I've played called Lemmings. Now, you've played that. A lot of people played Lemmings. So this puzzle is, it's a different puzzle, but it feels a bit like Lemmings without the time pressure. So I probably kind of wish Lemmings there's no time pressure. I mean, you can pause it, but then the new version, when you pause it, the screen is blank, so you can't see what's going on. I was like, I enjoy playing Lemmings a lot. Do you?
I enjoyed Lemmings, yes. It was, and very similar to this, I remember the progression through the levels was early on. They were very tutorial. There was no real, you didn't have to think that hard to use your limited, you didn't even really have limited resources in the early levels, but then as you got there to later on, there was only one way to solve it, and sometimes it was limited by timing and so forth.
Probably explain what Lemmings is. So Lemmings is video games where you need to save certain numbers of Lemmings creature by, get somebody would need to dig through the hole to get to the exit, for example. So they would like drop from the entrance, and then you have to make sure that certain numbers will exit the area. So there are many ways. You can jump, you can, have somebody that blocks someone so they don't fall into the pit of death or something like that. So it's really enjoyable.
The one other thing which Magic Maze Tower does bring is a fifth character. It's called the Little Sister character. Tricky little movement, but adds to an interesting puzzle. This character can teleport in a straight line as long as the destination point is adjacent to any other character. So particularly in the tough levels, It is this character goes through walls, so if there's a key space behind a wall, that's the only way to get there. And it is interesting trying to get the other pieces in the right places so that there's a valid teleport or a valid chain of teleports. So a little bit more tricky to get your head around.
Yes.
But it is an interesting character.
So how does it feel, Magic Maze Tower, compared to the Magic Maze? I mean, it's almost like comparing apple to orange, I think.
Oh yeah, very much. They are completely different experiences, and you do need to know that going in. They're both called Magic Maze, but they are completely different things. And you are going to get that chaotic escape from the temple real-time experience out of Magic Maze, and you're going to get a rush hour type of puzzle out of Magic Maze Tower. And from there, what do you like, basically?
Yeah, so I think in a meetup situation, Magic Maze would probably work more because it's more like, I don't know, this is like controversial. Social or is it anti-social? It's both, like social without communication. But I would say social game. While Magic Maze Tower is more kind of like solo puzzle. It works well as a solo gamer or as a solo player to just trying to sort out yourself. I mean, yep. I thought like, how does it work solo? So do you have to use your left hand that can move up and down and then your right hand to move left and right? Of course not.
Let's give an extra thing for your brain to think about. But yeah, I would never I would never play this in a meetup. I wouldn't consider it a game, really. It says a game on it, but it is a puzzle that looks like a game.
Yep.
We often debate about things like micro, macro and things like that. They're not the sort of thing I would bring to a meetup.
So what do you think? Maybe you have experience, maybe you like or not like Magic Maze. Maybe you wish Magic Maze doesn't have the time pressure. So there's this Magic Maze Tower. So let us know in the comments. Really want to know what you think. And thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.